Imagine waking up and finding that sunrise and sunset happen every 30 minutes. The whole day rewound and restarted 8 times before you can finish making coffee. What if a day, from one sunrise to the next, lasted only 1 hour? At first it sounds like science fiction, but let's walk through what would hit us first and what would haunt us later. The setup is simple. The planet spins much faster, so Earth turns once every hour instead of once every 24. Night and day would flash by, 30 minutes of light, 30 minutes of dark, and that alone rewrites life's schedule. Our bodies, tuned to a roughly 24-hour clock, would be confused from the start. Sleep, hunger, hormones, mood, all driven by a circadian rhythm that suddenly has no map. People would feel permanently jet-lagged, but worse, like living in a room where the lights keep changing every half hour. Plants would struggle too. Many species use day length to flower, to leaf out, to cue seasons, and those signals would collapse. That's the biological setup. Now the physical world changes even faster and more violently. Centrifugal force from the spin would grow huge at the equator, shading effective gravity and tugging oceans outward. Seas would slosh toward the equator. Coastlines would redraw themselves as water piles up in wide equatorial bands. The planet would bulge. Think of Earth flattening at the poles and fattening at the middle, like a fast-spinning ball. With less pull at the equator, tall structures and mountains would feel a different weight. Human engineering would be tested in ways we never planned for. Weather would explode into complexity. Winds would race because air now moves over a much faster rotating surface. Coriolis forces would curl storms tightly. Hurricanes and cyclones would spin faster and appear in new places. Jet streams, normally a broad river of air, would fracture into many fast, narrow bands, making weather wildly local and wildly changeable. Oceans, driven by altered winds and a new surface tilt, would churn with stronger, faster currents. Tides would still be driven by the moon and sun, but their pattern would be thrown into disarray. Some shores could see near-constant sloshing while others go strangely calm. There's a deeper mechanics problem. To spin, Earth this fast requires almost unimaginable energy or a transfer of angular momentum from somewhere else. In other words, this is not a small tweak. It's a planetary-level rewrite that the moon, the sun, and physics would all notice. Short-term, humans would face sleeplessness, shortages as supply chains break, and infrastructure stress as power grids and transport try to cope with a world on hyper-fast cycles. Flights, trains, and even the timing systems that run hospitals and factories depend on predictable day lengths. Those systems would need immediate redesign. Food systems would suffer. Crops that need a specific sequence of day and night could fail. Fisheries would be thrown off by shifting tides and currents, and pollinators might disappear. In the medium term, ecosystems would reassemble or collapse. Some species might adapt to a 1-hour day, but most would not, causing mass die-offs and new winners. Cities at low latitudes would become especially vulnerable. Sea level shifts and fierce winds could turn familiar skylines into hazards. Geology itself would respond over longer timescales. Redistribution of mass changes stress on the crust, potentially altering seismic patterns and volcanism. And socially, imagine time itself becoming elastic. Work, school, markets, all would need new rhythms. Humans would invent new norms or fracture into time-based subcultures. Now here's the middle shock. Human perception of time would change so fast that an hour could feel like a lifetime or a blink, depending on your biology and light exposure. That paradox, 1 hour full of events, yet no long calm to process them, becomes its own crisis of attention and meaning. The takeaway isn't just about physics or biology. It's about how fragile our assumptions are. The rhythms we take for granted shape our bodies, our cities, and our stories. If you strip those rhythms to a single frantic hour, you don't just alter clocks. You force an entire planet and its life to retune or vanish. Maybe some resilient microbes thrive. Maybe some engineered crops survive. Maybe pockets of humans adapt with technology and lifestyle revolutions. But much would be lost. Quiet nights, slow seasons, the gentle pacing that lets life breathe and civilizations plan. If this thought experiment moved you, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what part of a 1-hour day scares you the most.